this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Stuff You Should Know is brought to you by Grainger. Grainger knows that if you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you can be confident that soon you'll have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With no fees or minimums on checking accounts, it's no wonder that Capital One Bank Guy is so passionate about banking with Capital One. If he were here, he wouldn't just tell you about no fees or minimums. He'd also tell you about how Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. Yep, even on weekends. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bankguy. Capital One N.A., member FDIC.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know from HowStuffWorks.com.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and Charles W. Chuck Bryan is with me as always.
Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. We got Jerry in the house.
Oh, yeah.
This one, probably won't be our funniest podcast.
No.
And I have to say that I suggested landslides without knowing about that landslide.
No.
I swear.
No.
I promise you. I sent this to you on Monday and then saw like a few hours later.
Wow.
And I was like, oh boy. I didn't, I was on vacation, so I didn't hear about it. But yeah, so it's super relevant.
Well, yeah, it is.
And
apparently unintentionally relevant.
Yeah.
Like our Black Boxes episode.
Yeah, it's been happening weirdly.
But yeah, if you have been not paying attention to the news at all lately, then you may not know, but there was a massive landslide in Washington that, as of last count, I think the death toll is at like 24, which is an astoundingly high number for a landslide, at least in the United States, because something like 25 to 35 people die in the U.S. a year from landslides. This one was one single enormous landslide. And if you haven't seen the pictures to get an idea of just how large it was, you should go online immediately and check it out, because it was nuts what happened there. Yeah,
it's about an hour north of Seattle, and I know we have a lot of fans in Seattle, so we're obviously thinking about everyone there. But it is... there's still, 170 plus people missing, and it looks like it will be easily the deadliest landslide in U.S. history by the time this is all said and done.
It seems like it.
But I'm clearly hoping there's more survivors, but it's just, that's scary, man.
Oh, yeah.
To think about, like, being trapped like that and possibly still alive, it's just like the whole thing is upsetting.
Yeah, because, if you were inside a structure that's now covered with mud, you might, there's a chance that you're not buried. The structure around you is buried.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty awful stuff.
Yeah.
To me, what's even more awful, and I read an article where an unnamed resident was saying, like, yeah, we're not mad at the authorities, but yeah, apparently they didn't heed a lot of, warnings.
Oh, really?
This area, the area that was covered in landslide was known since the 60s in the area as Slide Hill.
Uh-huh.
The area itself is called the Steelhead Landslide. So, like, imagine if the street you live on is not in Eastlake,
right,
but in Steelhead Landslide.
Right.
Like, landslide is in the name of the area that you live.
So it wasn't like the biggest surprise.
No, and there was a 1999 report by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that predicted the potential for a large catastrophic failure right there where it happened. And that's exactly what happened. The landslide happened. It covered about a square mile.
Yeah.
And is like 15 feet deep right now.
Well, you can't tell people where to live, though,
No, you definitely can't. But
I'm not saying they shouldn't have warned, but, like, people still live in flood zones, and people still build their houses on the sides of a hill in Malibu. And
yeah, and I guess if you're warned and, like, you were willing to take that risk and you wanted to, then
sure.
I don't disagree with that. But I don't know if I don't know if everybody was as aware of the potential. But apparently there was a landslide in that area as recent as 2006.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently this was the big one, and it was coming a long time, and
set off
happened.
by water in this case, right?
Yeah. There was word that possibly it was an earthquake, but they think no, it was there was a lot of rain that came before then. And so, well, let's get down to explaining what happened exactly. The landslide there is actually technically a mudslide. And mudslides, landslides, a bunch of other ones, they all fall under something called mass movements.
Yeah, and that is the umbrella term, and that basically means gravity is at work, moving something down a slope, some kind of sediment. It can be a landslide, which is obviously devastating, or it can be super slow over centuries. And we'll get into all that in a minute. But we'll get into all the triggers too, but I guess we should talk about they're categorized depending on how fast it's moving, what kind of materials are being moved.
Right.
In every case, though, you're talking about soil moving off of bedrock, the friction being overcome by gravity.
That's exactly what a landslide is.
And it's like super fast erosion.
Yeah, on any slope you have soil over rock, and it's being held in place by friction.
It's kind of scary to think about.
It really is.
You know it's true, but then when you read it, it's like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, like if you've ever dug a hole in the ground, it's not easy. It's not like silt or something like that. It's like ground. It's hard ground, but that stuff it's not fused to the bedrock beneath.
Right.
There's a kind of there's a friction that's holding it in place, and that can fail. And that's what a landslide is.
Exactly.
Like you said, gravity overcomes friction.
Yeah.
And it can on some very large scales. It can on small scales. And then, like you said, depending on the type of movement, how it moves, what's moved, you have different categories of mass movements. Landslides are just one of them, or a slide.
Yeah.
Is one category. There's slides, creeps, slumps, and flows.
Yeah, creeps are obviously super slow. It can be months, years. It can be centuries of creep. And that is when the sediment, when the friction is not working, but it's not completely destroyed. So there's still some friction.
Yeah.
It's just moving super slow. And that's usually as a result of a lot of freezing and thawing going on to change the composition of the soil.
Yeah. When a freeze comes through, the sediment in the soil, is pushed upward as it freezes. And when it thaws, it falls back downward. So what you have, if you look at it on a geological time scale, is basically an undulation up and down of the soil that is moving downward on a slope.
Like millimeters at a time.
Right. And then the telltale signs, though, you can see that a creep is happening because telephone poles will be kind of askew, or trees or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That means that you're standing on or looking at a slumping slope.
Yeah, and you won't see it happening.
But I did see a pretty awesome GIF. I can't remember where.
Was it time-lapse?
Yeah, it's a time-lapse GIF. And it wasn't over the course of a year. It was over the course of, I think, several days in San Bernardino or whatever. But it's just like, whoa, there it goes.
It makes you feel unstable.
Yeah.
Like the earth beneath your feet.
Yeah, well, I mean, the earth is a constantly evolving mass. Soil is being moved from here to there, and there's all sorts of different agents of change, and it moves in different ways. It can creep.
Yeah.
I think I said a slumping slope. That's not true. That was a creeping slope.
Yes.
A slump is when you have a big chunk that breaks off as a whole chunk and just moves. That's a slump.
Yeah, and that can be, the actual thing can be called a slump too. It can have a couple of meanings there for that word. Like the big piece can be called a slump.
Right.
Or if the movement is the slump.
If they're not sliding like they used to.
Right, they're in a slump.
Yeah.
True. And that is when, basically the base can't support this big chunk on top of it. And again, it's usually due to, moisture and water.
Right.
Is the general cause for slumps as well.
Yeah, water's like the primary all-time leading winningest cause of mass movements.
Yeah.
Because either, like, in a slump, a good, analogy or a good example is if you're at the beach and you just see like a whole hunk of wet sand shear off of another hunk of wet sand. You just witnessed a slump.
Yeah.
And actually, water can create stability for sandy, loamy, or clay soil.
Yeah, like you build a sandcastle, you want the sand wet.
Exactly. Up to a point.
Right.
When you add too much water, it becomes saturated, and then you have a slump or you have a slide or a flow.
Yeah.
And then with other types of mass movement, that water can get underneath and interrupt the friction between the soil and the bedrock.
Right.
And that's when you have some sort of movement as well.
So that's creep and that's slump. And then finally we have flow, which is just basically a soupy mix of water and rock and soil and other materials. And it's just...
Those are usually the deadliest. Because
Yeah.
they spread further.
That's like a mud flow or an avalanche.
They get everywhere. They'll like enter into everything. It's not just like a bunch of dirt. It's like a river, a fast moving river of mud and debris. And I misspoke earlier. That's in Oso, Washington.
Uh-huh.
That's what that was. It was
a
mud flow
that started it.
That came down and covered everything. It was
okay.
mud.
Gotcha.
Which actually hampered rescue operations because apparently it's just like quicksand right now. It'll just suck you right in.
Man.
Yeah.
So in the case of anything other than a creep or a slump, if you're talking about a quick landslide, it happens just like in a snap. It's going and picking up speed, but it is the result of years and years of like slow, steady erosion.
Right.
Basically, it's not something that just happens out, or it can be triggered. We'll talk about like earthquakes and stuff like that.
Right.
But in general, it's the weathering down of objects. And I guess the difference we should describe between weathering and erosion is transporting the weathered material, and weathering is the actual wearing down of that material.
Right, yeah.
So they're different.
Yeah, so if you have a rock that's a nice big solid piece, millions of years later, it's been weathered into a bunch of soil.
Yeah.
And then as it's lost its composition, it can move more easily, and when it moves, it's being eroded. So erosion is the process of movement. The weathering is everything that leads up to that ability for it to be moved.
Yeah, and weathering is important because your weathered landscape is going to be much more likely to landslide. That's why you'll see them in more extreme environments where you get like tons of rain or like a lot of snow maybe. Heat, cold, water, and oxygen. Those are all things that impact weathering or that cause weathering.
And there's two types of weathering. There's mechanical weathering and there's chemical weathering. And mechanical weathering is basically the material is broken down, but it retains its same chemical composition.
Like the rock.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still the rock, but it was broken down into smaller pieces of itself. Say by wind or something like that.
Yeah.
Or water lapping against it. Now, if you had those pieces of rock that were in water that ultimately over the course of years dissolved it, it would be in solution and it would no longer chemically resemble itself. That's chemical weathering.
Right.
So, like if you pour acid on your hand, it's going to reconstitute into something else on the other end. The hole that burns through it. The stuff that ends up on the table is not really the same thing as your hand. You just chemically weathered your hand.
Wow. That's a pretty extreme example. And then you talked about the constant state of movement on the earth. That's going on at all times. And that's basically, if you're going to have erosion, you're going to have a deposit somewhere. And it's just a constant cycle on the earth of weathering, carried away by erosion, and being put somewhere else.
Right.
In cases of landslides, the bottoms of hills.
Yeah.
When we toured Guatemala, Jerry and I, and, or I should say me, we were at the site of a landslide that had happened.
I will never forget it.
Yeah, and you could still see in the, sort of, jungle-like forest, the swath that had been cut through years earlier.
Because all the stuff on either side was old growth.
Yeah.
And then the stuff through the landslide flow was much younger.
Yeah.
Shorter, like a different kind of green as well.
And they pointed out that we were like 12 feet higher than, basically standing on, bodies.
The old village.
Yeah.
They were unable to recover about 250 people.
Yeah, it was really upsetting.
Yeah, and remember their children were running around, all these orphan children.
Yeah.
Like they are just they belong to the remaining village now. It was really something else.
Well, yeah, and just when they said, like, you're like 12 feet higher, then
Right.
just the whole land raised up
Yeah.
because of this mudslide.
It was one of those ones that, like, you just kind of chewed on for a little while before you finally understood, like, the full gravity of it. Even though, like, while I was standing there, I was like, oh, this is nuts. But
Yeah.
then the more I thought about it, the nuttier it got.
So the sediment, we talked about the deposition at the bottom of the hill. The sediment is known as talus.
Right.
That's the official word for it.
When it's from a landslide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's being carried down. And with erosion, there are 5 different things that can act on it, which are water, which we've covered, and wind, and then gravity, of course, which we mentioned, and then waves and glaciers, too.
And technically, gravity is a part of all of them.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
A part of all mass movement. But those 5 agents of erosion, there are different things that can trigger a landslide or a mass movement. And really, if you think about it, all a mass movement is, like a landslide,
Yeah.
it's just erosion at high speed. Sudden and high speed erosion is basically what that is. Rather than taking millions of years to move from here to there through wind or waves or whatever, it happens in a moment, and it happens en masse.
All right, so you mentioned the triggers. We will cover those right after this message break. Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. You know, there's a lot of noise in the business world today, and leaders like you need clear insights from professionals you can trust. That's why Truist Securities created Navigating Beyond the Expected, a podcast built for decision makers who want clarity in a changing market.
That's right. Every month you'll get expert perspectives from corporate and investment bankers who are helping clients tackle important challenges. You can hear how leaders across industries are adapting to new technologies, making smarter decisions, and strengthening their ability to grow and secure critical capital.
It's practical advice that cuts through complexity for leaders who need to know what's coming next. Subscribe at truist.com/beyond podcast. That's TRUIST.com/beyond podcast.
Copyright Truist Securities Incorporated. Member FINRA and SIPC.
All right, so we mentioned triggers. The landslide always has to have a trigger. There has to be something to actually set it off.
Right.
Even though it may be years and years in the making, something finally pushes that button to make it happen.
It forces gravity to overcome friction.
That's right. One of the things that we mentioned already in the case of Washington was water, and that is probably the most common.
Right.
Heavy rainfall. I know in California and Los Angeles, when you see houses slipping off the hill in Malibu, it's because they don't get a lot of rain, and when they do, things like that happen.
Yeah, and it's either water saturating the ground and just making it so heavy that it flows downward,
Yeah.
or it gets down in between the soil and the bedrock and just causes the whole thing it undermines everything. Either way, water equals a lot of movement.
Earthquakes. That
Yeah.
can definitely trigger a landslide. We've covered earthquakes. You should go listen to that show if you haven't. It's a good one. But you've got the vibrating of the Earth's crust, and that is going to disrupt that friction pretty easily.
Yep. Another big one is wildfires.
Yeah.
Which you would think, well, how would a wildfire trigger that? I'll tell you how. vegetation, the roots of vegetation, can lock soil into basically a totally solid cemented state.
Yeah.
And as long as you have thick vegetation on a slope, it's going to be fairly stable. When a fire comes through, burns out all that vegetation, it often burns the roots as well, leaving not only less stable soil, but actual pockets in that soil too.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of pebbled, which makes it a lot more vulnerable to landslides after a wildfire.
Yeah, I'm just guessing here, but I would guess a landslide could happen like even long after wildfire.
Yeah.
Like if those roots die away, it would just become even less stable.
Yep.
And then volcanoes, volcanic action is a big cause, and there are a couple of different kinds of flows that can contribute to a landslide from a volcano. One is called a pyroclastic flow, and that is after your dome has collapsed or during an eruption. And these are super high speed. They've clocked them at 450 miles an hour, 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, lava flowing at you at 450 miles an hour.
I can't even imagine that. Like what
Can
that
you
would even
imagine
look like.
724 kilometers per hour?
That's easier.
Well, there you go. Then you just imagine 450 miles an hour.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, or
It
the
looks
one
like
in,
instant death.
yeah, exactly. And then something called a lahar, which is an Indonesian word. And this doesn't have to be during an eruption, but it can be. And it is set off by water as well. It's almost always near something called a stratovolcano, which are like super steep cones. And a lot of times there's either a crater lake or it's snow capped up top. And so that's the water agent. A lot of times it's the snow, and it sort of looks like wet concrete flowing downhill.
Yeah, and it may or may not be set off during an actual volcanic eruption. It could happen anytime.
Yeah, and it's much slower, 20 to 40 miles an hour, but
Still, if you're in a golf cart, you're dead.
yeah, that's a good point. And while it's not fast, it has a lot more rock, so it is one of the deadliest.
Yeah.
A lahar is, I think, because of just the sheer, like it can carry like a big boulder
Yes.
in the middle of that wet concrete.
Plus, a volcano also, it's not very stable because the composition of it is usually pretty loose, rocky soil.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you add water, it immediately turns to slurry. And when they erupt, they tend to shake the ground a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
which is what happened in the largest recorded landslide in 1980, Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the eruption, but there was actually an attendant landslide that is on YouTube. You can check out. As a matter of fact, we're putting a post up of just amazing landslide footage that you can check out on our website. Just go to stuffyoushouldknow.com and check out that post. There's just just some crazy stuff that people just happen to be filming, and all of a sudden the earth changes right before your eyes.
Yeah.
And one of them is this Mount St. Helens eruption, where just the whole mountain is basically just melting in front of you.
I remember that one.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
I was only 4.
Yeah, I was 9, so
Yeah.
it was on my radar.
Oh, yeah, I'll
slightly. That one traveled at speeds of 150 miles an hour, and again, Washington State not getting a break. Destroyed 27 bridges, about 200 homes, miles and miles of road, and covered 23 square miles with debris.
Yeah.
That was Mount St. Helens.
Well,
Just a landslide.
Another frequent hazard associated with landslides is, you think about it, when all of this earth is coming down, it's coming downward into a lower space, which is very frequently a valley,
Yeah.
which is very frequently a river valley,
Yeah.
which means that the river is dammed now, so it's flooding behind it,
Yeah.
right? So you have a flood hazard immediately. And then if that river or if that dam breaks, then you have another flood hazard downriver all of a sudden too, which is something that's going on in Washington right now.
Yeah, the same thing happened in, I think it's the most expensive landslide in U.S. history in Thistle, Utah, in 1984. The same thing happened there. It dammed up the Spanish Fork River and caused like much more problems just because of the flooding.
Yeah.
And that was a $200 million fix in 1984 dollars. And
that was even when Reagan was in office, so it's not too much different from the 2013-14 dollars.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. You know, there's a lot of noise in the business world today, and leaders like you need clear insights from professionals you can trust. That's why Truist Securities created Navigating Beyond the Expected, a podcast built for decision makers who want clarity in a changing market.
That's right. Every month, you'll get expert perspectives from corporate and investment bankers who are helping clients tackle important challenges. You can hear how leaders across industries are adapting to new technologies, making smarter decisions, and strengthening their ability to grow and secure critical capital.
It's practical advice that cuts through complexity for leaders who need to know what's coming next. Subscribe at truist.com/beyond podcast. That's TRUIST.com/beyond podcast.
Copyright Truist Securities Incorporated. Member FINRA and SIPC.
The submarine landslide we should probably talk about. That is in the ocean, and that is you can have an earthquake under the ocean, right, triggering a landslide underwater, which will trigger a tsunami.
Yeah, it can.
A 1, 2, 3 punch, basically, of natural disasters happening.
Yeah, all in concert. That actually, I don't know if this really technically counts, but seeing that little bit triggered a memory of the Lake Peigneur disaster in Louisiana in 1980. Texaco was drilling in Lake Peigneur, and apparently they didn't consult the map closely enough, and they were using a 14-inch diameter drill, and they drilled into the lake bottom, which was on top of a salt mine. And they drilled into an operational salt mine, and the lake got sucked into the hole in this giant whirlpool that took about like 30 to 50 of the surrounding acreage around the lake into the lake with it.
Holy cow.
11 barges were sucked in. The flow of water reversed, so it went from fresh water to salt water. It sucked the Gulf into it for a second.
Man.
And then a couple days later, after there were like 400-foot geysers as like these shafts were filling with water and the air was being displaced.
Wow.
And a couple days later, after the water pressure stabilized, like 9 of the barges popped back up and like went back to floating after being sucked down into this diamond mine.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? And apparently there's footage of it. It's awesome. It's like just the most amazing thing. I guess more amazing than that is no one died.
Wow.
Yeah, there was one guy on the lake who was operating the drill. He got out. And then there was a guy fishing on the lake, and he zoomed his boat to shore and made it like inland far enough that he made it. But I think 3 dogs died.
Yeah.
Lake Peigneur, Peigneur disaster. Check it out.
I was all excited, and then the
3
saddest
dogs.
ending ever.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I'm going to flip that up.
But there had to be some sort of erosion going on there. And technically it was submarine erosion.
The most deadly landslide in the history of the world was in 1920 in China. December of 1920. It was triggered by an earthquake, and as many as 200,000 people died in that one.
Holy cow.
And some of that was from the earthquake, but they said the landslide was responsible for most of the deaths.
Yeah, like I said, in the U.S. it's like 25 to 35 deaths a year. Worldwide it's more like 4,000. Yeah. And then on years where there's terrible earthquakes, it'll go up into the tens of thousands. And then there was a mudslide in 1999 in Vargas state of Venezuela that killed like 30,000 people. It just covered a bunch of towns like all at once. It was a mudslide or a mud flow, I guess.
Huh. Well, one thing I thought was interesting was that, and I think Jennifer points this out early in the article, that while in the States we don't see a lot of deaths from landslides each year, they're the most expensive natural disaster over, I think, tornadoes, earthquakes combined in this country.
And if you will consult your homeowner's insurance, you will almost definitely find that landslides are not covered.
Yeah?
Nope.
Well, I guess we should get to that point then, that, or is it us, is it humans that are causing these things?
Yes.
Always? Not always.
No, animals can cause it. Like a goat can cause a landslide if it really is unsure-footed.
Yeah.
But goats don't blast mountaintops with dynamite. That's one.
Yeah.
They don't deforest.
Yeah. Deforestation's a big problem. Road building through the mountains.
Yeah, because think about it. When you have a mountain and you cut a road through it, all of a sudden what was once a relatively gentle slope are now two steep slopes on either side, just aiming right at the road.
Well, yeah, and I think everyone's probably driven on mountain roads where they either have chain link fencing on the side of it, which is scary enough, or I guess it's even scarier when they don't have fencing, but they have signs that say, you know, watch out for falling rocks.
Yeah, or good luck, pal.
Yeah. There are things that people are doing, though, when they do build roads. They sometimes will put in drainage pipes to carry away water, which helps. Impermeable membranes like plastic sheeting.
Yeah, so it can't trickle down. And,
retaining walls.
Yeah.
And reforestation. So if you're going to clear cut an area, if you're going to harvest timber, maybe go back in there and try and reforest.
Plant something.
Yeah.
You know, for a number of reasons,
structure.
really.
Sure.
I can't believe that that's not a law. That if you take X number of trees down, you have to plant X number of trees. And the number you plant should be more than the number you took.
Is that not a law?
I'm quite sure it's not.
Yeah.
We can't even get black box recorders ejected for an extra like $50 a plane, remember?
I remember.
There's no law for that.
Hey, but here in Georgia, we just passed a law where you can bring guns into churches and bars.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I'm actually rejoicing for another law. I don't know if it was signed into law or if the House passed it and it's on its way. It is now a crime to drive slow in the fast lane. Or it will soon be when they pass this law.
What? Give me some parameters. Do you know?
It's called the Slowpoke Bill.
Okay.
And if you are impeding the flow of traffic, not even if you're going under 55 or under 45.
Right.
They're so aware that Georgia drives fast that they say if you're impeding the flow of traffic, even if other people are breaking the law and you're going the speed limit, you are breaking the law by being a slowpoke in the fast lane, which is the most glorious law any city or state has ever come up with.
Well, if you
states' rights.
If you go to Europe, the left lane is just for passing. Like, you shouldn't even be traveling in the left lane.
Right.
It's supposed to be you go around someone.
Right.
And then you stay out of it.
It's supposed to be that way here too.
Boy, it ain't.
No, but if you got the chops, you can travel in the fast lane as long as you're not holding people up. The ones that are really like need to go to jail are ones that are just knowingly are like, I'm driving the speed limit, so
right.
You don't own the road.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's 10 people behind you that you're holding up. So you're the one who goes to jail now in Georgia.
That's going to be tough to enforce.
Oh, yeah. It's totally subjective, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a cop can, it's totally up to the cop to enforce or not. But yeah, it's still, I just think it's a grand gesture.
Agreed. Slowpokes.
Okay. So if you want to learn more about, landslides, you can type that word into the search bar at howstuffworks.com. You should also check out geology.com. They have a really great, page with lots of different sub-pages on landslides.
Yeah, and if you're in that area and have been impacted, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're thinking about you guys, obviously.
I think, did we say search bar at any point?
Yes.
Well, then that means it's time for listener mail.
All right, I'm going to call this possibly the Unabomber is writing us. Hey, guys, I want to send out a note from the Great North. Been listening since my buddy Adam played me the Lego podcast a few years ago. And since then, I've been a fairly regular listener, but never more so than over the past few months. Because last spring, I moved from Minneapolis to Juneau, Alaska, for a job gardening at a public arboretum. Sounds like a lovely job, by the way.
It does.
Will. I live in a little shack in the woods near my work, about 25 miles out of town, about a half a mile from my nearest neighbor, almost free of rent, close proximity to work, and the uniqueness of the situation is what drew me to it. I have no internet. I have no cell phone service. So every time I head into town, I stop by the library or coffee shop and download more of your podcasts. New stuff and oldies but goodies that are still new to me. I have gotten into the habit of listening to you guys most evenings while making or eating dinner. I know some people in our town, but in the interest of using less gasoline and sparing my more or less meager bank account, I spend the majority of my nights out here alone. Whenever I do go into town, or one of my friends makes their way out here, I tell them about whatever I've learned from you guys. Listening to you banter and learning a lot of interesting new things has definitely helped me keep my firm grip on my sanity.
Nice.
Winter is basically wrapping up here. It was long and harsh. We had 96 inches of snow in December alone.
Oh, can you hear me? Will, you're losing your mind.
I'm really looking forward to spring and summer when Alaska comes to life with tourists, seasonal workers, and long sunny days. But I'll still find time to listen to your good stuff, so keep it rolling. I am happy I decided to live out here this past winter. It's a beautiful spot and a good adventure, but would have been a lot more difficult without the company of you guys. You rule.
We do rule.
And that is from Will. And Will, that sounds like my kind of life, buddy. I'd love to do that.
That is Unabomber-esque.
I could, sans the bombing, I could be the Unabomber.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Will. Thank you for letting us know that we're helping you out there. If you want to let us know that we're helping you out, whether you live alone or are part of a Brady Bunch or something like that, you can get in touch with us. First of all, you can hang out with us on social media. Look for SYSK Podcast on things such as Pinterest, Instagram, or Twitter feed, Facebook.
Yeah, we are new to Pinterest and Instagram, so we'd love for you guys to check us out there. And
it's very entertaining stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And you can send us an email to stuffpodcast@discovery.com, and you can find all of our information and all sorts of great stuff at our home on the web, stuffyoushouldknow.com.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit howstuffworks.com.
Introducing the all-new Mazda CX-5, featuring more connection.
Hey Google, where's the nearest Pilates class?
Safety that has your back. More discovery on the scenic routes. More passion in the details. And more control in changing weather. The all-new Mazda CX-5. More to move every side of you. See it in 5 films at MazdaUSA.com/5sides.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC. Sequences shortened and simulated.
You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days guaranteed or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute, so Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, their chef-inspired flavors. It's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.